the entire dope kid rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anyone else. I heard Jay do it before anyone else, and he changed the rhythm of rap into a whole different steam. He's the one who broke the camel's back when it came to artists like Big Daddy Kane and all these artists that came right before. Like after Nas came, with that, they started to fade out. And then Jay, Fat Joe, like all these rappers that spit about the life that we were starting to live right now and how it was changing, like this is, you know what I mean? That's how I felt about the whole event. Jay has been dying to rekindle his romance with Nas since the 1950s, but he's letting Jim throw the blows rather than entering the ring himself. That's the traditional Jay style. Move quietly, maintain your cleanliness, and allow someone else otherwise. Take care of the smoke. 50 is not in any way duped by your strategy. The second 50 learned that Jim was getting cozy with Jay-Z, he didn't take long to reply. He immediately and began criticizing him in a way that only 50 can. Loud, audacious, and unvarnished. He shared videos, memes, and captions mocking Jim for changing sides in order to survive, claiming that Jim was acting like the industry's favorite puppet, and strongly implying that Jay was manipulating things behind the scenes. 50 even implied that Jay didn't want to deal with Nas directly, so he sent Jim to stir things up. He reminded everyone listening that Jay has a lengthy history of letting other people walk on his toes, so this wasn't simply 50 trolling for kicks. 50 claims that this entire Nas scenario is merely the most recent instance of Jim carrying out Jay's orders while seeming to be out there on his own. The rap community is keeping an eye on every new post as if it were a hint. As soon as the internet got involved, things quickly became violent and anarchy spread over social media. Diplomats don't know anyone else. Look at my record. Jim Jones next. Go to the billboards and review all of my submissions after reviewing everyone else's past performance. Next, review each entry. For example, if you wish to view the billboard entries, choose both my billboard and N's billboard entries. But let's talk about one thing. Nas has 27 entries, 16 top 10 albums, and 6 that have peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200, whereas Jim Jones has 9 entries, 3 top 10 albums, and no number 1s. I'm still rapping at a high level in 2025. If Nas wants to smoke, come into a booth, and I'll go around in circles. Jim Jones is now rapping at a high level in 2025. I've been known to claim that I believe some of the greatest music to come out of New York in recent years has come from Jim Jones. Nick still produces amazing music at a very high level, but I haven't seen him in that mode. Let's stop criticizing each other. Fans began uncovering previous interviews in which Jim lavished praise on Nas, referred to him as one of the best ever, and even claimed that Nas was the inspiration behind his whole career. These videos quickly went viral, and people started wondering, so which Jim Jones are we getting today? All of a sudden, who is the fan of Nas or the detractor of Nas? Additionally, it made his Nas didn't respond in any way, not a tweet, not a post, nothing, while the memes kept coming in and the whole switch-up appeared forced. And that's what made it hurt even more. Jim appeared to be chasing attention everywhere, while he remained composed and concentrated on delivering classic lines and winning accolades. And 50, he keeps shooting at Jim, relishing every second of this catastrophe. At one point, he went so far as to say, Jim's the type who will diss anyone just to get his boss's attention. After that, things took a darker turn as reports began to circulate that Jim was actually urged by members of Roc Nation to cause problems with Nas as part of a publicity stunt. Just consider this. Controversy increases attention, clicks, and streaming. Jim Jones appeared on Fat Joe and Jadakisses. And Jay is renowned for his skill at managing stories without ever taking center stage. A topic and a topic, huh? Yes, he had a lot to say about a guy on the internet who said that Jim Jones was superior to Nas and had more Billboard singles than Nas when he went on Fat Joe and Jada to kiss his show. It was a young child. I suppose he was around 23 or 22 or 23, and he was stating that people in his generation don't look at Nas. Many people took offense to it. But I wasn't offended just because the children were younger than the generation. We don't always follow that in New York City with rappers, but it's similar to a sports discourse where the stats are the numbers. Yes, Travis Scott is the larger act. He has more hits, more money, and more but care what he says. If 50's idea is correct, Jim isn't the genius. Rather, he's simply another piece on Jay's board, be easily replaced, and isn't even particularly useful. However, because 50 is 50, he began disclosing old behind-the-scenes internet tirades. He's essentially dismantling the tough guy by telling tales. Jim supposedly pleaded for features in meetings, but was nonetheless curved by some big names in the industry. This gave a whole new element to the drama, which fans devoured right away. It's crazy because, at this point, the whole thing feels much wider than rap. Jim attempts to project an image of himself as someone who is starving for acceptance in circles. That were never really intended for him in the first place. It's a struggle for pride, credibility, respect, and significance. Jim continues, attempting to demonstrate that he belongs in the same discussions as the legends. But every action he takes just serves to fuel criticism of him in front of everyone. Yes, I may have smoked a little bit when you mentioned that you were superior to Nas. Let's get this straight. I have considerably more power than Nas, and I don't give a damn about what others think. I don't want to go into the rhetoric about where I started and where he started, but listen, Nas was kind when I was in high school. I know I made a little boo-boo when he talked about the sales and all this kind of underscore. A real boss keeps their hands clean even when they do dirt, 50 once remarked. That statement still has a strong impact. It provides a detailed explanation of how this sector actually operates. Jay-Z created his whole perception of being composed, professional, tactical, and unbeatable. However, some in the community claim he is strategically planning every move like a chess player. Behind the gentle grin was the grandmaster. Jay discovered early on how he reportedly locked out his former Rockefeller partners and how others think he positioned himself following Biggie's period. Shouting is not the source of that strength. It originates from control and quiet. He is more than simply a game player. He is basically in charge of the board. Many swear, "Man, what's the deal with that, Jim Jones? You are aware that hip-hop is a competitive sport." On the other hand, some individuals feel that they shouldn't be allowed to mention your names until they have performed in the musical genre. I've accomplished too much with this music to even need to respond to that query. Who is Jim Jones, for example? He doesn't appear in anyone's top 10. He's not on anyone's top 10 list. Perhaps not even his relatives. He's like the 7th person on the bench yelling at Jordan like you're a bum, like I mentioned last night. As if you were the 9th guy on the bench. I'm not even concerned about you. Additionally, when you consider how the game was played, some enthusiasts believe a pattern has emerged over the years. He kept his distance from Dame Dash and ensured that Cameron was not exposed to too much brightness. Rock banner, and now all of a sudden Jim Jones is out here making fun of Nez once more, while Jay remains calm and unconcerned as if he has nothing to do with it. That's classic Jay to many people. He leaves clean, composed, and in complete control while everyone else becomes dirty. It's brutal, no doubt, but some consider it brilliant as it protects his brand. And that's precisely why 50 doesn't work with either among them. He values loyalty above everything else, and he believes that Jim and Jay don't follow the same code. For this reason, 50 rides really difficult for M, as he believes that even when the business began to change, M never betrayed him, never took sides, and always stayed true to himself. M has been reliable from the beginning, never changed sides, never gave up, and never followed fads in an attempt to be current. When rumors began circulating that Jay was attempting to prevent 50 from entering the Super Bowl halftime stage, M intervened and declared, "If 50 ain't performing, then I'm not performing either." Whether he wasn't the greatest rapper or he just starting to get whatever you want the narrative to create, I'm still here because of whatever you painted the picture to be. In 2025, you still have the opportunity to hear me speak to you. Most likely, and has never been done for him in his life. He has never gone viral. Never. He has never been discussed like this at any point in his life. The last time he was in a situation like this, he and Jay were being compared by others. You can't fake loyalty like that, and it's something that money cannot purchase. Due to this is the reality. Fame wanes and streams slow down, and tendencies change throughout the night. Respect, however, is the true money in this area, and regardless of how Jim is making a lot of noise at the moment, everyone is aware that Nas contributed to the basis upon which the civilization currently rests. You can't achieve greatness by trolling. Time and legacy are the sources of true greatness, and constant, unwavering constancy. It's up to you now. Whose side are you on? Rolling in this entire crazy story, do you think Jim, Team 50, or Team Nas? It's genuinely independent. Out here, there are a lot of angles, there is a lot of activity. Don't forget to press the like button. Share your opinions in the comments section. This with your people to maintain the conversation shifting. Remember to subscribe as well. For further information, this narrative is far from completed, and you'll want to be ready for the upcoming chapter. Jim Jones is now 50 Cent's target, and the situation is rapidly getting out of control. Disparaged Nas on the Fat Joe and Jedi his pod that he is a greater rapper, contributed more to culture than Nas could. Particularly from someone who formerly had a deep affection for Nas, then caused him to make such a drastic change. Some claimed that the flip felt staged since it was so abrupt. People are already speculating that Jay-Z may be rearranging parts behind the scenes. This isn't a casual jab. Jim is being accused by 50 of acting like a Jay-Z puppet, and people are quickly taking notice of that charge. And look at this. The timeline has drawn attention from fans due to its strange appearance. Jim made fun of Have in interviews for years. Acting as though they would never get along, he would make jabs anytime he had the chance. Then, without warning, he starts speaking to Jay as if he were his older brother, with nothing but reverence. No matter how you cut it, that type of switch-up seems risky. Let's go back to the beginning of this turmoil. He desired that. He was observing them as they were, such as Mace and Can, and saw that he had them at last. He possessed one. Oh, I see. And after looking, I realized that I had just taken. I wasn't sure whether he would go for it. So I shot the murder to see. Oh, I see. However, I thought, we like Jimmy better than you anyway. You had to watch to see how he responded after music. Yes, and fire him. Jimmy, we want you to come to the show. Yes, however, that was one of the things Tu always said. It's just certain artists. I said, damn, when is he going to have his moment like Fat? Jim pulled up to sit with Fat Joe and Jada to kiss, to break down some recent hits. But things quickly went south. After that, he bit into it because it seemed like he was having a moment that he wasn't sure would ever happen again. Then he went for them. Joe mentioned the outrageous comparisons that younger fans have been making, claiming that some of them think Jim has contributed more to hip-hop than Nas. Jim had to maintain his composure and perhaps even show some respect at that point. Rather, he dismissed it with a chuckle, saying, "These new kids don't even know." He then impact goes well beyond that. I wasn't in the advertisement, for example, we're creating it. Oh, I see. Thus, I believe they still have some energy in my direction. Do you believe that your exclusion from the advertisement was intentional? No. I don't believe that they were claiming that I had some problems with the NFL, but I'm not sure what those problems are. I'm not sure what the problem is. Do you understand what I mean? Likened I am with him, since he was able to communicate with Nori. Yeah, I swear, I talked to the big homie. You were telling me, that the white boy wouldn't do the truth without 50, he added. I told my good friend Jay-Z to come pull up on me after I struck him, and he did, saying, the white guy called for 50 Cent. Who's the white guy? I asked. I'm considering this, Jimmy Eaney? And he said, no, Eminem called directly for 50. He said, that's his guy. He said, I can't do it if I can't break 50 off, but that's his guy, right? And I'm like, that's when I start saying crazy stuff because I look and I go, oh, that's your big homie, all right? And so he imagines himself after a gay painter. What are we talking about here? Boss, the big homie wants to appear like a homosexual painter. Oh my gosh, I think I know where we're headed. He wants to appear like a homosexual painter. Going with this, what I'm trying to tell you is that when you look at it, it's not mine. It's theirs. Their heart, isn't that right? But when you consider M's legacy as a whole, dude, it took everyone by surprise. When Jim began boasting about his legacy, he neglected to mention the diplomats or the crew who helped create that wave. Even though it is undeniable that Dipset had a run, molded a whole era, and had a lasting impression, Jadakiss' entire face fell when he stated it, giving the impression that he carried Harlem alone and was the driving force for whatever the movement developed into. The man didn't even need to speak a word, but his silence was shouting, "Stop the cap!" As if he had just heard the most out-of-pocket take of the year. With all of his might, everyone is aware that Nas is a true legend. There's no need for argument. I recently came across a video on Instagram in which a small child compared you to Nas and said, yes, my young boy. Strong hits? You taught him how to wear the BB Simon belt, so he looked to you. How absurd is it that he obtained his swag? You understand what I mean when I say that Nas is like a deity in my period. Another way, we love that he adored Jim Joe when he was younger. Therefore, let me be that small child. I respect Nas, but I want you to break down. Let's do this. It's crazy because Jim didn't really begin to gain genuine recognition in rap until Ballin' took off and reached the charts. And now, the same person who was thrilled to meet Nas last year is now asserting that he's the superior artist. I recall that Nas debut song, The Barbecue, came out while I was in the 11th grade. That is just ego on steroids, not confidence. Jadakiss maintained his composure, but without saying a word, his expression said, all Believe me, every well-known performer who watched that video was immediately struck by the intensity. However, Jim drove at full speed without applying the brakes. He claimed that he could surpass Nas in every aspect, including better bars, sharper flow, more impact, greater relevance, and the complete package. He went one step further and declared, "I'm more relevant, more than Nas has ever been." That wasn't bold confidence. It dropped jaws in addition to raising eyebrows, utter anarchy. And Jim began throwing out statistics like he was giving evidence in court to make it seem official. His attempt to turn data into a shield billboard, numbers, Spotify streams, viral hits, album placements, the entire digital scoreboard was rejected by the internet. Nas supporters filled the comments area with charts, everything else they could think of to remind everyone he's been delivering classic music, even got a record deal. They made it allow anybody to change history by reposting the statistics and dragging the claims. Since Nas was my childhood idol, let's face it, Evan perceived the difference here. When it came to the attire, wordplay, music, and everything else, I was an absolute Nas fan, and I will never take that away from him. However, once I started playing the game, you had to know that the opponents would be idols. That being said, I created my own style and lane that these youngsters began to gravitate toward. It's a completely different generation, much to how I used to pull toward Nas when I was younger. There is a significant difference between 94 and 93. When I was in the 11th grade, in 2025 _ you get what I mean? I want people to get that. So when I briefly tell folks that they don't really know who Nas is, if he's 22, he was born in 2003. Yes, he's 20 years old, which illustrates the period of time he's in that I came into light and began going wild that these youngsters adore me. Not all of them. Some of them are aware, but this dispute didn't appear out of nowhere. Since Nas called out Dipet and even made fun of Cameron's Come Home With Me album, calling it garbage, in the early 2000s, this tension has been boiling. Cam retaliated over the Hate Me Now rhythm. After then, it escalated into a full-fledged conflict. For years, the two factions exchanged insults, released diss tracks, and disparaged one another in interviews. Harlem versus Queens, Pride versus Legacy, and no one held back. However,